Welcome to our 196th weekly webcast. If this is the first time you're joining us, welcome. If you've been with us before, welcome back. Now, the way this call works is this is an AMA, meaning you can ask me anything. You can ask me business questions. You can ask me career questions. You can ask me investing questions. Ask me anything you want, because I'm humbly here to help you take your career or investment portfolio to the next level. Now, what we're going to do today is I'm going to answer all the questions you have here in YouTube chat. So please keep typing them. There's a bunch, but I'd love to see a lot more. And then what I'll do is I'll open up Zoom. And you can come on Zoom with me and ask me questions live, network with other students, that sort of thing. Okay, let me get started here, and thank you. Let me know what you guys think of the new look. I just recorded a video I'm going to be showing you guys very soon on Wall Street Pro, Wall Street Pro reacts to the movie Wall Street. I'm also releasing a video this Monday, which is going to teach you about finance based on the first episode of Billions. And then in 2 weeks, I'm releasing a video, which is Wall Street Pro reacts to the movie The Wolf of Wall Street. So it's a new series I'm trying. I'm not releasing as many vlogs anymore. I'm just going to be doing one a week as a trial, or one every 2 weeks to see what happens there. So anyway, great to see all of you. Let me get right to your questions. Feedback on the suit, yes, no, that's the sort of thing. And thank you for the feedback on my hair. I cut it a couple weeks ago because of you guys. All right, let me kick it off with Duan, who posted this last night at 2 in the morning. How are you? Who wrote, "Good day, Chris. What are your thoughts on the SEMA qualification? Thanks." Yeah, so that's the Chartered Institute of Management. I think it's for management accountants, right? Let me check it out. Or consultants. So I remember years ago when I worked in consulting, I was going to get a CMA, which was a consulting designation. I decided not to because not many people had it. So let me take a quick look here. And I did look this up before. Okay, Chartered Institute of Management Accountants. Oh, it's for accounting. Yeah. Sorry, I thought it was for consulting. So I would get a CPA instead. And if you're looking to get into any career, what you need to do is, if you think you need to get certain qualifications, just go to LinkedIn and find out other people in that sector that are successful, that are like 5 or 10 years older than you, see what they have. And the amazing thing is that a lot of people don't have degrees now that work at some of the top companies in the world. So for example, Google, IBM, Wells Fargo, Bank of America, Facebook, and Apple, and many others do not require you to have a university degree to get a job there. So things are changing. I think this is the last generation of kids that thinks that maybe they should think about going to get a degree. My son Andrew just started Berkeley engineering on Tuesday this week. I moved him in. Sad, but he's only 40 minutes away from me. I live pretty close to campus there. Very, very proud of him. He takes after his mother. All right. Gosh, I butchered that first one, eh? All right, next up, Renveer wrote, "Hey, Chris, how did you find your broker for your venture capital firm? And do investment companies use brokers like Interactive Brokers and Trade America?" Yeah, so venture capital firms do not use brokers at all. What venture capital firms do is they use a lot of lawyers extensively to draft up term sheets, other legal documents as well, to give to the company they want to invest in. Then what they do is they wire the money to that company after they invest. The other legal documents they need are subscription documents when they get money from investors, because investors have to be accredited. And investors have to write a whole subscription document or fill it in because there are AML or anti-money laundering terms there as well, post the Patriot Act. And you have to be an accredited investor, meaning you have to have a liquid net worth of $1 million before you can invest in many venture capital firms and hedge funds. So there's no broker involved at all. The only sort of brokerage transaction that's involved is when that company gets big, the venture capital investment gets big, and they've done multiple rounds like the A, B, C, D. Then the venture capitalists will hand that company to their investment banker friends who have a brokerage division. And then the investment bankers will take the company public. Last thing I'll say on this is the way that a private company knows they should go public is the second that revenue growth is starting to decelerate. So private companies' revenue growth is accelerating usually. And then what happens is right before IPO, revenue starts to decelerate. And that's when the venture capitalists give the company to the investment bankers to take it public. And you'll notice that for 99.9% of all publicly traded companies, yes, they have revenue growth, but they don't have a revenue growth that's accelerating. I've got this Amber Alert thing here. Hold on 1 second. Sorry about that, guys. Okay. Oh, it's a senior citizen Amber Alert. Wow. Yeah. And if you have additional questions about that, let me know. And thank you as always. Sorry for that interruption there. Okay. Next up is, what advice would you give someone when finding a broker for your investment company? Yeah, talk to a lawyer first, please. When I set up my hedge fund, I had to set up an onshore and offshore vehicle. Regardless of whether you do onshore or offshore, you need a lawyer involved. My lawyer, if you want to contact him, his name is Jim Grande, Grande, at the Securities Law Group here in the San Francisco Bay Area. Do not ever take money from anybody without getting a lawyer to put all the paperwork together, and register your company as well, because God forbid something goes wrong. I don't want you to lose your assets or your house or anything. And that goes for everybody in this call. I'm going to get down on my knees. I hardly ever do this, but I don't want you to forget this. Hi there. Please, I'm begging you. I'm begging all of you. Don't ever start a company without registering it first. Because what happens, again, if something goes wrong, somebody trips on the floor in your office, or you sell a bad product, which is not a criminal offense. If it's not a criminal offense, somebody can sue you and take everything. Protect yourself, please. Yeah. And for those of you in the United States, you can go to LegalZoom.com. I'm not sponsored by anybody, nor will I ever be, because I'm pure and true to you, my students only. I don't want to be biased. But go to LegalZoom.com. It'll cost you $30 per month for a 6-month contract to get protection. And you can do that for personal stuff as well. If you're in a country overseas, just do a search for what is your country name equivalent of LegalZoom. And everybody married, you should have a will and trust set up as well for your kids. Go to LegalZoom and check that out if you want to. Thanks. All right, and Haroun, thank you for signing up for joining my YouTube channel for the courses and stuff. Appreciate that. And I like your emoji. It's green. Moving on to Zach, who wrote, hey, Chris, I'm a sophomore at University of Michigan. Great school. Awesome. And I'm applying to consulting clubs in the fall, and I'm trying to practice the case interviews. Do you have any good resources where I can prepare for the cases? Absolutely. So if anybody's in university right now and you're not sure what you want to do when you graduate, I want you all to think about getting an origination job. And what that means is this. You make the product, and if you hate making the product, that's okay, because you understand the product and now you can sell it. For example, investment banking. Investment banking, you create the IPO product or the M&A product. And if you hate it, that's okay, because you can move on to sell or trade or manage people that work on that product, so to speak, because you made it. The same thing in engineering. So at Google, for example, if you're a software programmer, okay, website developer, and you hate it, that's okay, because you can move on to managing people that work on the product, selling the product, marketing the product, etc. Last thing I'll say is in consulting, if you make the strategic plan for companies, meaning you go into consulting, and you hate that, well, you originated that plan, so you can move on to sell or do marketing, etc., operations at a company. The bottom line is origination makes sense. Now, I'm very proud and humbled to say that one of my students that started in my Platinum MBA class this past January, he just has an undergrad, he got a full-time job offer at Goldman Sachs doing investment banking, making a base salary of $175,000 per year. And his start class right now, he's starting with post-MBA students, people that are in the associate program from Harvard Business School, etc. 2/3 of HBS, Harvard Business School, is BS. You can't say that about Haroun Business School, or maybe you can. Just don't call it Haroun Education Ventures. People mispronounce my name all the time. My last name rhymes with baboon. Now you can't forget that. In terms of resources for consulting gigs, and I used to work in the consulting sector, here's what I did to get my consulting job. There's a great website called Vault Reports. And what you can do is you can download books that'll teach you how to interview at any type of company, not just consulting. And there are case books there as well. Let's go there together quickly, and I'll show you this system here. So it's vault.com. Okay, whoops. Vaultreports.com. Come on. All right. And while that's coming up, in my MBA degree program, I also help you ace your cases by teaching you all about consulting and different frameworks as well. So let's do a search here. in Google to see if it's a different web address, because I'm pretty sure it's right. Okay, let's see here. Vault reports. Here it is here. Okay, good. It is. They rebranded it, I guess. Okay, so you go to vault.com. Sorry, I guess they changed the name. Stick with me here, guys. This is helpful, I promise you. All right, so you go to vault.com, VAULT. Looks like it forwards fast. It gets URL forwarded to firsthand.com. Then you click here on guides, okay? And then what you can do is you can download. Okay, this is great. You can download books that will help you get jobs in any sector, okay? IT, hospitality, etc. Okay, and they'll also teach you how to interview at these companies and what questions people have been asked in the past. Okay, all my friends and I used this when I graduated from Columbia University 8 million years ago in the year 2000. This works, okay? But if you search here, you'll also find consulting jobs, okay? And then you can ace your case, okay? There's actually case-oriented guides here. Here it is here. The career guide to consulting, internships, etc. The top 50 consulting firms here. It'll teach you how to do cases as well. There's lots of casework there. The best thing I can tell you, and I tell my MBA students this, and I say this with love in my heart always. I always tell my students take my MBA program, I can take you to the water, but I can't force you to drink. And what I want you to do is practice with each other. And the way to do that is you can create case questions and ask each other questions. A lot of my students do a great job using Zoom to network with each other. We have a couple thousand students in the class. They all use Slack as well. Yeah, practice, because as Tony Robbins said, repetition is the mother of all skill. If you have any additional questions on that, please let me know, and thank you. And if you're in my MBA program, I will personally train you to ace your case. Yeah. And we have a lot of students from top MBA schools in the world, Ivy League MBAs, etc., that are also taking my program, and they humbly say they learned more in 1 month in my program than they learned their entire MBA program. Yeah. And there's a money-back guarantee, 30-day money-back guarantee on my program. It's a good deal. All right. Next up, Zachary wrote, also, I wanted to say that I really appreciate your teaching. I'm in the Silver MBA program, and I love it. Thank you. Oh, awesome, Zach. Thank you so much for that. So, Zach, what you can do is this. Every single Thursday, once this call ends at 10 a.m. my time, San Francisco time, I have a 1-hour Zoom call just with my Silver students. And let me train you on how to ace your case during that 1 hour. Okay, and I'll do it every week with you forever if you want. Again, go to the curriculum, the first lecture of the Silver curriculum, and you'll see the link for today's Zoom call at 10 a.m. Okay, there's not that many people on it, so I can give you a lot of attention one-on-one. Okay, and thank you for that. Cool. Next up, Mars Planet wrote, hi, Chris. Hey, how are you? Good to see you. And Aria just joined also my 5 courses, a part of my YouTube website. Thank you for that. I appreciate it. It's something I'm experimenting with right now. And what I'm also doing is there's this guy, Mr. Beast. You guys know Mr. Beast, yeah. He has 100 million subscribers. And he and his good friend Daryl Eves just wrote this book on YouTube. And I contacted Daryl. And I hired him, or I'm part of his program, I should say, with a bunch of other people. And it's called Channel Jumpstart. Okay, and so what I'm doing is I've never really tried to grow my YouTube channel by making content just for the sake of, I don't know, making content that will get subscribers. I kind of just rehashed everything from this weekly call. And what you'll notice is that I'm no longer putting out daily vlogs based on questions from this weekly call. But what I'm learning from Daryl Eves, who works a lot with Mr. Beast, is how to make great YouTube content, which is why I'm making a lot of vlogs that you guys will see in the next couple of weeks, which are more entertaining and educational. So I'm going to teach you finance lessons based on certain movies like The Wolf of Wall Street, etc. Okay. All right. Cool. Next up, Kevin, who's in my MBA program, wrote, good morning from Lakeland, Florida. Great to see you. Please bring your tax code to California here on the left coast. Okay, next up, question is from 10X Real, who wrote, Chris, do you have any M&A advice, meaning mergers and acquisitions advice? Yeah, so I provide you with a lot of different frameworks to decide whether you should go or no go in terms of one company buying another. But you got to look at 2 different directions. Number 1, should you build? Number 2, should you buy? Okay, so build means you build the product internally. You have to look at your financial statements to see if it makes sense doing that. Can you get up to speed quickly enough with a new product? How desperately do you need it? If you can't do that, you don't have the intel inside your company, then you can buy. Okay, so instead of building, you buy. And I can help you with merger models as well. If you're in any of my MBA programs, I can help you during the Q&A during those programs as well. Yeah, including helping you build your financials, because I've done a lot of that. Okay, next question is, we have a growing SaaS company. SaaS stands for software as a service, basically cloud computing. We have a growing SaaS company in a niche market. Our primary channel partner wants to acquire us. Oh, very cool. Very cool. Yeah. So when they give you a term sheet for the deal, talk to a lawyer. Okay, don't respond at all, because there might be a way for you to negotiate a higher price, etc. If they offer you stock or cash, take cash. And the same thing goes with anybody here that's got a job at a new company. If they say, hey, do you want cash for salary or do you want stock? I want you to ask for more cash and less stock. Obviously, don't say zero stock, because it shows like you're not committed to the company longer term. But the reality is, if the company does well that you're working for and it's publicly traded, they're going to give you more shares anyway over time. Yeah, it's a better way to manage your personal risk. Okay, now, if you want to ask me more questions about that SaaS acquisition, let me know the type of company you have, and I'll help you find a multiple to sell yourself at. Okay, now what you want to do is you want to look at the price to revenue multiple for all publicly traded software companies, okay, and the price to earnings multiple. And then you want to discount that by 30% because you're private, and that might be what you could sell your company for. It all depends on what other similar companies are trading at. Again, if you want to tell me what type of company, I'll do real-time research for you right here. Thanks. It's exciting stuff. And then you wrote, the problem is, it's just really good job in stock, from the company, and no money for the IP we built, which they definitely need and want. But they've got a good job and all that stuff. We're out of gas. Yeah, 100% bootstrapped by management. I got it. Yeah. I know it's tough for you to tell me what company it is so I can analyze the stock if you should get stock. But again, I would try to get more cash if possible. Yeah. Or if you get stock, make sure there's no lockups. You can sell it whenever you want instead of having to wait like a year or two. Yeah. All right, next up, you wrote, what's your general advice given the macro economy? It's hard, man. It's hard. Like for people that are starting companies right now, it's really, really tough. And I always advise raise as much money as you can when you can. But I need to look at the logistics of your deal there to help you out more so. And you can always ask me in my programs, one-on-one MBA programs if you want. Yeah. All right, next up, we've got Kevin. Hey, Kevin, how are you? Kevin wrote, good morning, Chris. I hope you're having a great day. Likewise. How do you feel about having relationships at a young age of 18 or 19? Do you think they can hold you back in crucial career foundation years? Yeah. Oof, that's a tough one. I remember I had my heart broken for the first time, really broken. Probably I was 19. Yeah. The first time is the hardest, man, once you get your heart broken. And after that, you're like Teflon. Yeah. I would say it depends what you're doing. If you're in high school now, the most important thing are your grades, right? And so I would, and all that people are going to look at in terms of your resume from the period of you being in your early 20s or late teens are your grades. So I would do whatever it takes to get great grades. And yeah, it's hard though. I know. Yeah. Don't worry if it hurts in your first breakup. I remember I was dating this girl. She was Spanish, and she said, Chris, I want some espace. It broke my heart. Yeah. So I gave her espace. I didn't have a choice. Okay, and Kevin wrote, do you have any tips with trading psychology? I had 2 good option trades that profited. Nice. But one of my option trading is doing bad, making the other 2 option trades do nothing to my portfolio. Yeah, what I would say is this, and for those of you in my MBA program, I added a 30-hour elective on options to the 4th semester that you can all access. And when you buy my program, you all get access to all future content for free. And by the way, if anybody wants to trade options, please practice for 6 months first, because you can lose way more than what you invested if you're underwriting options or selling them, meaning not buying. Be careful. What I would say with this bad options trade, I'd have to look at it. However, in options, one of the most important drivers of the price is time. And unlike a stock with an option, the closer you get to expiration, the less money the option is worth. Okay, so time decay. So you might want to think about selling that position if you don't think there's going to be much volatility, the upside or downside, depending on if you bought or structured a put or call. So remember time decay. Yeah. Okay. Next question is, how do you stay motivated when one bad trade can ruin the profits of 3 other trades? Yeah, diversification. So, and this applies to everybody. Of your liquid portfolio, meaning the money you have to invest that doesn't have anything to do with paying bills, etc. I want you to have at least 20 positions. And I don't want any position in your portfolio, your stock portfolio, to be more than 5% of your portfolio. Okay, so 5 times 20 is 100%. I also want you to diversify a lot. I don't want you to have more than 20% of your portfolio in any one sector like technology, healthcare, retail, industrials, commodities, etc. I also want you to have geographic diversification. And lastly, I want you to keep liquidity in mind. Don't ever buy a stock that doesn't trade that much every day. Otherwise, what happens is illiquid stocks own you in a down market rather than vice versa. And I talk a lot more about portfolio management, diversification, etc. from scratch, finance and accounting from scratch in my MBA program. Okay, next up I have got here, Kevin wrote, when breaking into the buy side, meaning a hedge fund or a mutual fund, would you recommend starting in equity research or sales and trading and then transition to the buy side after some experience? Yeah, look, I think sales is great experience. Most people in finance, 80% of people that work in finance work in sales, and sales is an important skill set. But the reality is most people that work on the sell side, they want to get to the buy side. It's their goal. So if you can get to the buy side first, that's great. It's a stressful job. Like if you're working on a trading floor, this is a prop for one of my videos. But if you're working on a trading floor, you're selling all the time to the buy side. Okay, the person on the other side of that phone, meaning a mutual fund or hedge fund. All you're doing all day long is you're selling. And it's very repetitive because you're selling the same story sometimes. And it can be very stressful because, and I've done the buy side and the sell side at Goldman Sachs, buy side at Citadel, big hedge fund, other hedge funds. But when you're on the sell side selling stocks, it can be abrasive. Sometimes the buy side can be very rude to you. And there's a joke that the buy side calls you, and I'm going to censor this, the buy side calls you a jerk to your face, the sell side hangs up first. Yeah. So if your goal is the buy side longer term, try to get there first. I can help you get there as well with my courses and MBA programs, etc. Yeah. All right. And in the past couple of months, one of my students, I mentioned before, got a job at Goldman Sachs investment banking. Another one of mine just got a job at McKinsey in consulting. Another one in the past couple of months got a job at Google, Salesforce. The list goes on and on and on. Yeah, it works. Okay. But networking is everything. Like if you want to transition and make a career change, I don't care what career people are in or what kind of job you have, you can change careers, but you have to network aggressively. And I teach you how to network aggressively at the very beginning of my MBA degree program. Remember, relationships are more important than product knowledge. Your network is your net worth. And one of the problems with people that first start entering business, and this was definitely a big problem of mine, was when you're younger and you're in school, you know, if you get good grades, you're proud of yourself, the teachers are cool to you, your parents are proud of you as well. And then what happens is you join the workforce and you start working, you keep your head down, and you think if I do a good job, people are going to recognize me and I'll get a raise or a promotion. The reality is, after a year or two of keeping your head down, you look around and you realize, oh my God, other people that are just as qualified as I am and doing just as good a job as I am, other people are getting promoted and raises faster than I am. And it's because they networked a lot and they asked for raises and promotions. And I can teach you how to do this as well. You have to network a lot in business, okay, if you want to get a promotion or change careers. And you can do this over LinkedIn. If you're in my Platinum program, I personally write your entire LinkedIn profile for you during our one-on-ones if you want to. The bottom line is try to network like crazy if you want to change careers. And that's how I did it as well. When I changed careers many times from consulting to the sell side, to the buy side, to venture capital, to starting my companies. Yeah, it works. I promise you. Just remember, people want to help you. All right, next up, Manas. Hey, Manas, how are you? Manas from India wrote, good morning, my dear mentor, Chris, please. Hope all is well. How is the godfather of online education doing today? Yeah, no. Thank you. I'm humbled to hear that. My dad used to tell me when I was younger. He'd say, Chris, those who can't do teach, and those who can't teach gym class. And I suck at sports, so I'm certainly not the godfather of education. Yeah, and that's not true about those who can't do teach. I love all teachers. I'm doing great, thanks. I'm always good. Next up, you wrote, China dominates the Bitcoin mining sector. Will this help China be a superpower sooner rather than later? China is very much advanced in Bitcoin mining. 8 out of 10 Bitcoins are mined and minted in China. What are your thoughts? Yeah, and 81% of all pool-based Bitcoin cryptocurrency mining or Bitcoin mining is done in China as well. A lot of those anteater products you can buy, those ASICs that you can mine with, are being run in China right now. It's not really legal to do it in China, but people still do it anyway. Beijing can crack down anytime they want to, and I think they probably will. They monitor everything there, and China is coming up with their own cryptocurrency as well. So I think it's only a matter of time until the Chinese government finds a way to push out almost all mining. They can't do everything. Almost all mining in China, period. Because China is all about control. They want to control their economy. Yeah, and they're in trouble now because the economy is not growing very much, and so they actually just cut interest rates. They've got their own real estate crisis as well. Yeah. Okay. But I do think that cryptocurrencies should be regulated because I have so many students that have gotten scammed by this. And you don't need too much regulation. Like what you can do is, like with stocks, before you buy a stock, by law, you have to file, if you're going public, an S1 document. So this is the S1 for Facebook, ticker Meta. And basically this investment offering memorandum is written by investment bankers and lawyers, and it lists every risk in the investment. We need something like this with cryptocurrencies because reading a crypto white paper is not enough. 95% of all cryptocurrencies are scams. Yes. They're scams. I've done a ton of research on this over the years. I teach about this in my MBA program as well. I teach you how to do your own research as well. Never rely on anybody, including myself, to tell you what stocks or cryptos to buy. Always do your own research, but just keep in mind that most are a scam. I never want anybody, and I say this with love in my heart, to have more than 0.5% of your liquid net worth in any one particular crypto. And I don't want you to have more than 5% of your liquid portfolio in cryptocurrencies in general. Okay, they're very, very dangerous. A lot of them are great investments, but a lot of them are scams. Just be very, very... All right. I don't know why that happened. I had an echo there for a second. All right. Next question I've got is from Mara. Hey, Maris, how are you? First time I've seen you on the call. I hope you join us again, and thank you. Okay, and so your question here from Maris is, great to see you all. If one considers signing up for the MBA, does it make any sense to buy the Udemy courses, or the MBA covers all the topics already? Much love and light to all. Thank you, and thank you for that heart emoji. So it's all brand new content that I've recorded. I've recorded it in 4K from multiple camera angles. When you watch it, it's 1080, but I future-proofed it as well. Again, it's all brand new content, brand new case studies, brand new frameworks, etc. Yeah. Thank you. Okay. Next up, Gary wrote, good morning from New Jersey, everyone. Good to see you as well. What movie is this from? Lovely accent you have. New Jersey? No, Austria. Well then, put another shrimp on the Barbie. Right. Whoever answers that right first gets one of my courses for free. Yeah. Not the MBA, but any one of my courses. Yeah. Whoever answers it here. Yeah. All right. Next question is, the amount of hard work you do is commendable. Thank you. And worth to be appreciated. Thank you for everything. I always keep you in my prayers. Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you for being so cool and a badass teacher. Thank you so much for that. I appreciate it. I'm tearing up almost a little bit. I had a massive health scare this summer, as many of you know. It was actually worse than what I mentioned. But I'm now finally 99% better. I went to the gym yesterday and I had PRs and a couple of personal records in a couple areas, so I'm good. Now, I really should not have come on to the weekly webcast this summer when I had COVID and then pneumonia and heart issues, etc. But I'm over all that stuff. Thank God. I do push myself too hard. And one of the problems with doing what you're passionate about is you don't know when to stop. right? I do take breaks. I spend time with my family every night for dinner, put my kids to bed, or two of them at least. I take Sunday off to go e-biking with my son Dylan. But I really did push myself too hard this past summer. And in hindsight, I should not have, but I'm feeling great. Thank you. And thank you for your prayers. And I do pray for my students as well. When I get out of bed every morning, before I get out of bed, I thank God for these 10 things in this order. Okay, and this puts me in a peak mental state. It makes me happy and grateful. I always thank God for this. Andrew, Matthew, Dylan. Okay, these dudes. And we're matching today too, blue. Andrew, Matthew, Dylan, Christine, my wife, my mom, my dad, my brother Jamie, my sisters Katie and Elizabeth, and number 10, you, my students. Thank you. And I pray for all of you as well. Yeah. Okay, next up we've got Nintendo. Nintendo, congratulations. You've got a blue trophy now. That's right. So if you join my channel, you get a green trophy for the first month. The second month, you get a blue trophy. First time I've seen that. Very cool. Thank you. It's fun. Those are my corporate colors, blue and green. So you wrote, what kind of SaaS business do you think is best to start in 2022? Yeah, it's a very competitive market. What I would say is, so Mark Andreessen, who's a great venture capitalist, I met him a couple times. We were on the board of the same company years ago. Mark Andreessen from Andreessen Horowitz said that software is eating the world. And what you want to do is you want to look at sectors that have not been disrupted yet by software, right? So obviously don't look at the taxi market that's already been done with Uber. Don't look at the hotel market. Look at different sectors that have yet to be disrupted. Yeah. And whenever you're investing, what I always recommend doing, whenever you're investing or starting a company, I want to go to this angle, sorry, is I don't want you to be short-term focused. I'm getting a prompt here, give me a sec. I want you to be long-term focused. Like Wayne Gretzky, who's the best hockey player ever, he's my hero growing up. He was very successful, not because he skated to where the puck is, but rather because he skated to where the puck is going to be. And I want you to use the same analogy there. I want you to invest in companies that people are going to like. So think 5 years in the future and always ask yourself before you make an investment in a company, ask yourself, is this company or this sector going to be more relevant or less relevant in 5 years than it is today? I know it sounds simplistic, but that will stop you from being seduced, from buying value traps, meaning stocks that are cheap, especially in the tech sector. They're cheap for a reason. All right. Next up, Kevin wrote, love the suit, Chris. Any fashion tips for suits? This, I don't even know, dude. This is, I got this from, I don't even know what brand this is. I got it, there's this place called Sam Malouf. Not Malfouf, which is a great Middle Eastern dish, that my mom used to feed me. Sam Malouf. So I got that from him. This is a boss tie, which you can get on sale. But when you're doing on-camera work like this, never have a shirt that has patterns. Very important. Never, ever. Because what happens, it messes up the camera. Even this tie kind of messes things up a little bit in hindsight. Yeah. And I got it tailored as well. And yeah. And if you're not sure what to wear, guys, to a job interview, what you can do is just go to the website of the company you're interviewing at, click on the About section, and see what people are wearing in pictures, or go to LinkedIn profiles, see what people are wearing. Yeah. Otherwise, you might overdress like I have here. Yeah. Okay. Next up, Mabola wrote, hey, Chris, good morning to you. Good morning to you as well. Good to see you. I have a question for the S1 for Facebook. Yeah. You mentioned, and you can get this from sec.gov. You mentioned that the investors at top left, but it looks bottom left. Is there a reason for naming this convention? Yeah. So top left, the way it works is this. And by the way, if anybody wants to get onto Zoom, I'll open it up in a second after I go through your questions here. Keep typing questions. So the way it works is this. I'm going to try and get close because it auto focuses on my face here. Yeah. So top left here is the firm that is making the most money from the deal, and they're running the deal. Okay. They're called the book runner. And in this case, and this is from 2012, and I owned Facebook when it was private, my VC fund, and then public when it was public as well. But top left here, this here is Morgan Stanley. So they ran the IPO and they butchered it. They did an awful job. Right? It crashed the first day. It was terrible. It's true. So that's top left. They run it. top right, this is the second most important position, was Goldman Sachs. Okay, and if they both run it together, it's called joint book runners. And in the middle here, number 3, or threeth, as my son used to say, Andrew, he's in school now, in college, makes me sad, is JP Morgan. And then you've got smaller banks here, like you've got Merrill Lynch, or I call them Feral Stinch, Royal Bank of Canada, Barclays in England, Credit Suisse, Deutsche Bank, obviously in Germany, Wells Fargo, etc. The reason you have, and they're smaller because they don't get as much of the economics, the reason you have more firms on it, and global firms too, like the Royal Bank of Canada, Deutsche Bank, etc. Sorry. The reason they have that is because when you take a company public, you distribute the shares globally, not just to the United States. You want to distribute the shares all over the world, so there's not as much volatility in the shares longer term. And when they're doing the IPO roadshow, right, like when Zuckerberg met with all the portfolio managers and hedge funds, he and the investment bankers decided which big mutual funds and hedge funds can own the stock. And they do it based on who they think is going to be a long-term shareholder. Okay, they don't want to sell it to other people that are just going to flip it in the first day or sell it. They want long-term investors. And so whenever I used to participate in IPOs when I worked at a hedge fund, and I remember I got the 3rd largest position on the West Coast in a couple of big software companies during the cloud software IPO craze in the summer 2012. That was Workday, ticker WDAY, maybe not that one. Right Now, or ServiceNow, ticker NOW, and then Splunk, ticker SPLK. I got the 3rd largest allocation on, and the largest on one of those 3 too, because when I went into these meetings to meet with the management team, like Godfrey Sullivan, who's the CEO, taking Splunk public, what I did was I thought about their business model longer term. And I talked about how I envision the company longer term, meaning it's a platform solution longer term. If you're on the road, you're a platform, you charge the cars. And what I did for Splunk even was I created, just using basic software and PowerPoint, a Splunk app store. And I said, this is what Splunk could look like longer term if Splunk is a platform. And because of that, I got the largest allocation in that IPO. And I really believed in the company back then as well. Godfrey Sullivan, I invested in him a lot when I was the 3rd largest shareholder at a big hedge fund of Hyperion, a company he sold to Oracle. And he also used to look at Apple. So I got to know him, but I convinced him that I understood his business model longer term. And I was in it for the long run. So the bottom line is, whoever's taken the company public, the CEOs of the company, when they meet with the big hedge funds and mutual funds on the roadshow right before the IPO, they want to give the shares to people that understand the business model and are bullish longer term, right? And so you're selling them as well instead of just vice versa. And if anybody has follow-up questions on that, let me know, and thank you. Okay. Next up, and what I'm going to do actually is this. I'm going to open up Zoom now in case anybody wants to join. I'll show you how to join Zoom. You go to HarounMBA.com, all lowercase Zoom, and we're just about to deploy a brand new website. This is my old one, which is going to be much faster and amazing. It will come in 2 weeks. So go to HarounMBA.com/Zoom, all lowercase, okay? And then click right here to join Zoom. And what I'll do is I will open up Zoom right now. And if you want, you can start joining and I'll get you guys soon. Okay. Launching. And while this is launching, I will go to your next question here. All right, give me a second. Okay, cool. All right. Okay, and then Kevin wrote here, I can't wait for the reaction videos, Chris. Thank you. It's going to be fun. Because I want to teach based on movies now as well. I kind of want to, it's just fun for me. Yeah. You wrote, can't wait for the videos. Those are some of my favorite videos. Some recommendations: The Big Short, Margin Call, Boiler Room, and The Social Network. And I'll be doing all of those as well. Boiler Room, it's a play on J.P. Morgan with J.T. Marlin in it. I know all those movies really, really well. I'll go through that. And The Social Network will be fun as well because from a venture capital perspective, I'll talk about that. Yeah. And I'm learning also from this YouTube course I'm taking called Channel Jumpstart with Daryl Eves that some of the best performing videos are pop culture ones, meaning when you talk about current topics with celebrities or movies, whatever it is. And legally, you can do this because it's for educational purposes too, as long as you don't rebroadcast the whole movie. Yeah. But you can't monetize those videos, but I don't care. I'm not for monetization. Okay. All right, next up, Mindy, how are you? Mindy's in my Platinum program. I think you started this past June. Thank you. And we start a new one this fall on September 30th. That's Friday, September 30th for 1 year from 9 a.m. until 3 p.m. Pacific time. That's my time for 1 year. Yeah, should be a lot of fun. Okay, and to learn more, just go to, you guys can see the web address at the bottom there. Yeah. So Mindy wrote, you look very professional. Thank you. Sometimes you got to play adults. Yeah, you got to dress to play the part. You got to fake it till you make it. I'm faking it. Then you wrote professional and casual are both always a great look as long as it's not extreme. Do you agree? Yeah, I would say always err on the side of being cautious. So if you think that a company, if you're a guy and I don't know how women dress, sorry, I'm not smart like that, but if you're a guy and you're going to a company you're not sure how to dress, don't wear jeans. What I would do is this. And this is what I've done before. I wear khakis. I bring this and a tie. And then at the front desk downstairs before I get on the elevator, what I do is I ask, I say, do they wear a tie up there or not? And if not, I take this thing off. Yeah. Okay. And Dewan wrote, awesome, thanks for your feedback. And then a big 100, which my kids use on Snapchat. Apparently, not that I monitor Snapchat. Thank you for that. Thanks. Okay. Moving on to Manas, who wrote, is it worth it for a new company to do an IPO or an ICO owing to the emerging of blockchain and Web 3.0? Should a new startup do an ICO instead of an IPO? Thanks. Yeah. So on the spectrum, I did a vlog on this a while ago. So there's ICO, okay, initial coin offering. There's SPAC, okay, special purpose vehicle, and there's IPO. So IPO is definitely the one that investors like best because you're vetted by governments because you have to write this S1 document. Okay. Then you have SPACs, most of which are scams, which basically means you're rushing to get to market. You're going to prepare some documentation, but not as thorough as that one I just showed you, and you can do it within 6 months. IPO takes like a year and a half sometimes. Yeah. So very reputable IPO, many of them, if you have the right firms on the syndicate. Then SPACs, much less reputable, and the riskiest are ICOs. Okay, if it's a cryptocurrency, obviously, doing an IPO for cryptos, ICO, initial coin offering. The problem with cryptocurrencies is there's no regulatory body that will tell you what you need to disclose to investors. And that's why my MBA program, I provide you with a massive framework on how to analyze cryptos and all types of companies. Yeah, remember, most cryptos are scams. Do your research first, please. And I've stopped putting out a lot of crypto videos on YouTube as well. And one of the reasons is because most of the comments are scams. It's people trying to scam each other. And there are people that work together with different YouTube accounts, and they'll all say, yeah, invest with this guy. Send a WhatsApp to this guy. Oh, yeah, I did too. He made me a fortune. Yeah, it's frustrating. Okay. Next up, Yolanda, how are you? Oh my gosh, it's been years. I think you're based in Texas. You were in my first MBA program back in 2019. It's so wonderful to see you. You wrote, first MBA class alumni here. It's been a while last time we spoke. Hope things are going well. They are. Thank you. I hope you're doing well as well. Then you wrote, please advise what job is best. I'm an accountant now. I know a little bit of Python, but I don't want to be a full-time programmer. Yeah. Oof. What I would do is, and I'm going to start introducing, by the way, programming in the MBA program. So anybody that's already signed up for the MBA, I got a prop here, give me a second. Anybody that's already signed up for the MBA will get my programming classes. Sign up today, or if you signed up 5 years ago, whatever it is, I'll add it to the curriculum. But I'm going to be teaching programming in a fun way, the way it's supposed to be taught. Okay, and I was a programmer years ago when I worked at Accenture. So the way I'm going to teach it is I'm going to be using props. Now we're going to start off, and I will be teaching Python as well. We're going to start off with the easiest way to learn programming, which is using Microsoft Excel. Because in Excel, what you do is you record yourself doing stuff on the screen, like I don't know, putting in formulas, creating buttons and stuff, whatever it is, making a font bold, colored, etc. And then what you do is you stop recording and you look at what you recorded, and that's a macro, and that's creating code. And you look at the code and you can change it around. So what you're doing is you're creating subs or sub procedures, okay? And in the middle of the sub is the code created for you, and at the bottom of it is the end sub, okay? And so I'm gonna make this graphical. It's got all the layers inside as well. It's gonna be a lot of fun. Then what you do is all the subs go into a module, okay? And you can have different modules as well. You can also put in functions and an end function on the other side as well. And these modules, you can have multiple modules as well, right here. And I'll have a top-down camera. And these modules, what they do is they go into a project. Modules go into a project, and I teach everything from scratch in a fun and visual way. Now, what I also do as part of this, and this will be just for my MBA students in the curriculum, is I teach you how a computer works. Now, in business, we always think like the person does the other side of the table, right? Every battle is won before it's been fought. Business can be war. But I teach you how a computer thinks as well. And so what a computer does is a computer thinks big to small. So if a computer wanted to turn this object here, this eraser here, green, the computer would go big to small as follows. Pencil.eraser.color equals green. And so I'm going to be teaching it with a lot of props as well. So object.smallerObject.property equals value. And when you meet me in real life, you'll find that I'm a very small man. I'm a tiny human being. Look how big this pencil is. Sorry. I went 49 minutes without any dad humor at all. Yeah, that was awful. Yeah. But what I would say, Yolanda, is that make sure that you enjoy programming. If you don't enjoy it, then don't do it. You won't be as successful at it as you could be. Because programmers, the best ones in the world, love what they do. And that goes for people that work in the software sector in general. They love what they do. They don't have a job. They have a passion. So make sure you fall in love with that programming language and really enjoy it. Otherwise, it's not worth doing it. Yeah. And you can take great programming classes from Angela Yu as well on Udemy, right? Learn Python through her. She's the best. I met her as well. She's amazing. Yeah. All right. And she's a doctor as well. Okay. Next up, great to see you, Yolanda, and welcome back. Yeah. And big shout out to Christina Hong, who heads up the Haroun Education Ventures MBA Alumni Association. She does a lot of great calls. I think she has one set up this Saturday for Gold and Platinum members. And she's doing a big webinar where you're all going to practice interviewing with each other. I think she posts on LinkedIn. You can also contact her as well. And if you don't have her email, just email support@harounventures.com, and thank you. Next up, we got Kevin, who wrote, have you ever received gifts from former managers or executives? I heard a lot of Rolexes are gifted in the business world. Yeah. Not on Wall Street. On Wall Street, you cannot give anybody more than $100 worth of a gift. You can't. And you got to be careful too, because it can be seen as a bribe. And in foreign countries, a lot of big blue chip companies that you know well, all of us know well, they've gotten into trouble by doing that with government officials. You can't bribe anybody. In the United States, if you give a gift, any sort of gift or monetary asset to a government official, you can go to jail as well. Yeah. And in The Wolf of Wall Street, which is one of those videos that's coming out soon, that I tell you how the world of finance works, Jordan Belfort in the movie, played brilliantly by Leo by Leo, he tried to bribe an FBI agent played by Kyle Chandler. Yeah. That's one of the reasons he got in trouble. Yeah. So if it's done, it's illegal. It's illegal. Yeah. And this is a Rolex here. This is the cheapest Rolex you can buy, because it's not silver. It's just kind of steel. I bought this with the bonus I got in 2004 when I worked at a hedge fund called Citadel, when we moved here to the left coast, the Bay Area, to invest in tech stocks. Yeah. This is the cheapest one. Okay. Next up, Rita wrote, "Good day, Chris." Rita, how are you? And Rita's in my June cohort, I think. Yeah, good to see you. You wrote, "You're looking very presidential material." Thank you. And you'll notice that when Trump uses a teleprompter, because his back is kind of hurts, he moves around like this, right, on both sides, right? Whereas Obama, he makes it more fluid, right? And I teach you guys how to use teleprompters and all that stuff as well in the fourth semester in the SMC track, Sales, Marketing, Communications. So you wrote, you're looking very presidential material. Thank you. You wrote, I love it. I'm sending you a big hello from down under in Melbourne. Thank you. Thank you. Right back at you. Thank you. Lots of love. Next up, we got Mabola, who wrote, hello, Chris. Hope all is well. Likewise. Just wanted to get your assessment on the WeWork and its IPO recently. So I've never been a fan of WeWork. They had an office right across the street from us on Market Street when I worked in venture capital in San Francisco. I always thought it was a bit of a scam. Also, you never want to invest in a company that's focusing on two different areas, because focusing on one area, if you execute perfectly, you can do well, but two of them kind of takes your eye off the ball. So with WeWork, not only was it real estate, it was also investing in companies, right? A little bit ridiculous. Yeah. Do one thing and do it well. Don't be a jack of all trades and a master of none. Yeah. And there's accounting issues there as well. Big scandal. Yeah. And then you wrote, can private companies, can they deny shares to their employees if requested? And what steps can you avoid this dilemma? They can do whatever they want if it's in a legal contract. Yeah. So what I recommend is this. Don't ever join a private company or a partnership or anything without talking to a lawyer first and get the lawyer to review the documentation. Many years ago at a certain firm I worked at, I won't mention which one, I was kind of worried about me getting paid. And so what I did was I hired a lawyer, and it was a pain in the ass. It cost me like $7,000 to do it. But I'm glad I did it, because in the documentation, the lawyer changed something, which was this. If any companies in our portfolio get acquired, you will get paid your 1/3 of the portfolio, because I was a partner there with two other guys. You'll get paid 1/3 within 6 months. Before that stipulation was added, it was you'll get paid whenever. It's up to the discretion of the other people in the company. Yeah, painful $7,000, but worth every penny. It saved my backside. Yeah, and helped me make millions, whatever. Yeah, humbly, sorry. All right. Next up, Manas wrote, when is it worth it to actually do a crowdfunding for a company seed and actually share parts of the company with people who participate in a crowdfunding, like 50% or maybe more to supporters? Yeah, I would never do 50% or more, because you're giving up control of the company. You always want to retain control, right? So I wouldn't do it that way. What I would do, and I'm going to let people into, I'll let you guys in a couple of minutes. I see a lot of people are waiting to get into Zoom. Please keep joining. I'll let you guys all in a minute or so. Yeah, thank you. But what you want to do is, I don't recommend having many investors either. I recommend raising as much money as you can when you can from one investor early on, like a seed investor. Okay, and you can network aggressively with the concepts I teach in my MBA program on how to raise capital. I've raised and managed humbly over $1 billion in my career, so I know what works and what doesn't, because I failed a lot. Yeah, raise as much money as you can when you can. I'm not a big fan of crowdfunding either when it comes to equity investors. It just gets messy from an accounting perspective. But yeah, okay. But what I would do, if you want to give equity to your employees and business partners, whatever, what I would do is I would give them options that vest in 4 years. Here's how it works. So there's a concept of golden handcuffs. You have in a lot of big companies, tech companies especially, and private ones. And what this means is this. You join the company as an employee, you're given a base salary, and you're also given shares in the company. And the shares are usually at like 10 cents per share, right? Because it's pre-IPO. And those shares that you're given that year, in year one, you can cash them in 4 years, right? Assuming the company is public. And if you leave in year 2 or year 3, you lose those shares. Then what they do is in year 2, they give you more shares, right? But you can't cash those shares in for another 4 years. So if you leave at any point in time, you're leaving a lot of money on the table. Those are golden handcuffs. Okay. All right, next up I've got, hey Eric, how are you? Eric's in my silver program, good to see you. You wrote the Amber Alert, well, on my phone here, caused me to remember the movie Adam that used to come on a lot in the 1980s. And Adam Walsh was born the same year I was born, 1974. I'm 72 as well. And would have been exactly my age, yeah. Yeah, these Amber Alerts are great, And the reality is that, people complain about cell phones and kids using these things, etc. But the number of abductions that I hear about, at least, has gone down materially. I think a lot of it's because of technology. It's trackable. Yeah, that's not a bad thing. Yeah. Okay. All right, next up, Shabanth wrote, Hi, Chris. I messed up my first group discussion. Any advice on how to get better at GD? They are totally random. Yeah, GDs. I guess GD stands for group discussion. Yeah. If you're talking about an interview situation, so here's a couple of tips. Number one, make sure you make eye contact with everybody equally, right? Always look around, okay? If you're staring at one person for too long and talking to them, I learned this from Larry King. God bless him, passed away, a great talk show host. If you're talking to anybody for a long time, every 20 seconds or so, you want to look away. You want to look away, yeah. Don't ever look over someone's head either. It shows arrogance. And if you're going to look down, that's what I do. It's just my demeanor. Yeah. But what I would do, and don't dominate the conversation either. Ask, once you finish up your thought on something, ask somebody their thoughts. Joanne, what are your thoughts on this? That sort of thing from a group discussion perspective. Don't sit like this in any business meeting ever, because it shows you're closed, whatever it is. If they give you business cards, don't put them in your pocket. You put them on the table. And what you do is, if you're interviewing with 3 or 4 people across the table from you, you take the business cards and you line them up in the order in which the people are sitting, so you don't forget the names. And every now and then you go get a drink of water, you look down or whatever to find out their names. Use their names as well. Yeah. People love hearing their names. Yeah. And if you have additional questions on that, let me know. If anybody else from an engagement perspective wants to comment other tips for Shabanth, please do so as well. And thank you. All right. Next up, Kevin wrote, how long does it take to become a portfolio manager? And then how much longer does it take to become a chief information officer, meaning the person that manages all the PMs. So portfolio manager is the person at a hedge fund or mutual fund that manages the money in the fund. And working for him or her are usually between 5 and 10 analysts. And the analysts focus on different sectors like software, internet companies, industrials, retail, etc. And the way that you become portfolio manager is you're an analyst first, always. And then you get promoted to portfolio manager. It's very hard to do, though, because a portfolio manager quite often makes 10 times more than the analysts do. That's right. And so the portfolio manager doesn't want to give up that coveted seat. And quite often, if the portfolio manager gets fired, then one of the analysts can move up. But the reality is there are a lot of sharks in the hedge fund industry. Not all of them are sharks. But if a portfolio manager loses money in a certain sector, they usually fire the analysts first. Yeah, it gets really contentious too. At a lot of hedge funds, the analysts will go behind closed doors to the owner of the firm and say, I'm better than that person, promote me. Yeah. So it probably takes 5 to 10 years. Yeah. But you don't want to be PM too early in your career because you can't go back to analyst. You don't want to be given enough rope to hang yourself. Yeah. It's tough. Okay. And then CIO, it's usually somebody that, I don't know, it's kind of a burned out PM or doesn't want to do portfolio manager stuff anymore. Maybe 20 or 30 years as a portfolio manager, they might think about that if the CIO position exists, and it only exists in larger firms. Yeah. Okay, moving on to Morris, who wrote, I retail trade via interactive brokers long-term from Europe. As the S&P is not available here from the New York Stock Exchange, would you recommend to invest in VUAA Vanguard S&P LS ETF, currently trading around $79? Yeah, let me give you guys a quick intro to the best ETF to invest in. Okay. So if you don't have time to do investment research, what I recommend doing is I recommend buying ETFs. And I'm going to show you, first of all, the S&P 500 ETF. So if you all go to finance.yahoo.com, and if all you did was I'm trying to buy time here. It's loading. There we go. If all you did was you put your money, you put 20 grand per year which is the taxable amount you can invest tax-free in America. If you put 20 grand every year into the S&P 500 ETF, which has an average return yearly of 10.5%, then in 20 years, you'd have over $1 million. If your spouse did it, you've got over $2 million. If you maxed out your kid's educational account, educational savings account, the 529, it's called something different in different countries. If you maximize the 529, which is 15 to 16 grand every year, if you did that for 18 years before your kid goes to college, you would have 700,000 or 800,000. So there you go. You've got close to $3 million right there from just buying the S&P 500 ETF. Of course, it won't be up or down that much every year. That's on average. So there's two ways you can buy the S&P 500 ETF, okay, with low fees. One way is VUAA, okay, and this is offered by Vanguard. Now, what you always have to do before investing in any ETF is I want you to look at the fees. You click here on profile and you'll see here the annual fees, expense ratio, same thing, is 0.03. What that means is for every $100 you put into the S&P 500 ETF, ticker VUAA, for every $100 you put in, you're only paying 3 pennies every year in fees. That's amazing. The S&P, these ETFs beat mutual funds, and mutual funds have fees, including hidden fees, of 4 to 5% every year. Okay. Now, another one we'll look at, which is the exact same thing, but from a different company with the same fees, is the SPY. Okay. This is also an ETF representing the 500 stocks in the U.S. markets. Let's go to profile here. You'll see the fees. Oh, actually, it's higher. Okay, I thought it was lower. It's 0.09, so it's not as good an investment as VUAA. This means you pay 9 pennies in fees for every $100 you put in each year. Now, if we look at the breadth and depth of this index, we see here there are 12 different categories it's exposed to. These are the 12 categories of U.S. stocks making up the S&P 500. The largest component is technology. Now, you can do this also for different countries. I'll show you Canada, and then I'll show you Brazil in a second, and I'll come back to your FTSE or your London question in a second. Okay. Now, one more thing I want to show you first, though, is before investing in a stock or any ETF, you click here on summary, and I want you to make sure that it's liquid, meaning can you get in and out if need be, if you need the money. Okay, so right here, this ETF trades 79 million shares per day times over $400. Yeah, you can get in and out in a second, no problem there. Okay, now let's look at a couple other ETFs, and I'll answer your question in a second. Let's look at EWZ. And we'll do EWC for Canada in a second. Say you want to invest in Brazil. Okay, so instead of going and looking at all the companies to buy in Brazil, you can buy the Brazilian ETF here. Now, because it's not as liquid, it's liquid, very liquid, 24 million shares times $31. Because it's not that liquid, the fees are going to be a lot higher. So if we go here, it's probably 0.5% or something. Profile, let's see here. Yeah, 0.57%. So for every $100 you put in this ETF, the EWZ, you're going to pay 57 pennies in fees per year, which is not bad. If you go to the breadth and depth, you see the same thing here as I showed you before. Now Brazil is a much more natural resource rich economy, right? And so you've got a bigger stake here for as a percent of the portfolio for basic materials as well as for energy down here. And if you scroll down, you see it's primarily natural resources companies like Petroleum Brazil, Petrobras, and a couple of banks as well. For the United States, the top 10 or the top 5 are all tech companies: Apple, Facebook, Google, etc. Okay, let me show you Canada, and then I'll answer your question. And when I answer questions, I try my best to answer questions in a generic way that's applicable to everybody. So with Canada, doesn't trade that much actually. Look at that. 5 million shares per day times $35. So that means the fees are going to be higher. 0.5. It's not that bad, right? So you pay 50 cents per year in fees for every $100 that you invest. And Canada is very similar to Brazil, given the fact that it's a natural resources rich economy. And Brazil, Australia, and Canada, they see their dollar or real, their currency, go up in value a lot when China is buying a lot of commodities. So when commodity prices all go up, so do those 3 aforementioned currencies. So right here we see basic materials, we see energy down here, which is massive in Canada, and financial services. There's only 5 or 6 banks in Canada, which it's a very regulated financial services market. 5 or 6 banks that are globally dominant. The largest component is Shopify. Then you've got Royal Bank Canada, Toronto Media, a pipeline called Enbridge, etc. All right, one more thing. I want you guys to go to ETF database, and then Maris, I'll answer your question, but this is important. So ETF database, etfdb.com, is a great way to do research on ETFs. You can look at them by type, by geography, etc. So if you wanted to invest in, I don't know, I'm going to say Argentina, you click here, and you can look at all the ETFs in Argentina. So this one here, the fees are 0.59%. And probably one of the biggest components is going to be Mercado Libre here. You can click here on holdings, or you can look at Yahoo Finance for this as well. Yeah, here it is here. This is a free market, Mercado Libre. eBay used to own a big stake of this company. All right, now I'm going to get to your question now that I've done that little preamble. All right, so the ticker you've got here is, VUAA. Okay, so it's a Vanguard one, a Vang. I have no idea what this is. Give me the ticker. LSE, London Stock Exchange, ETF. Should come up here. Every single ticker in the world is here. VUAA. Give me the ticker, okay? VUAA, Vang. Yeah, give me the ticker for it because it will come up here. This has every ticker in the world here. This is international as well. Thanks. And once you give me the ticker, okay, you gave me another one here. Okay, so you wrote VT, Vanguard. That's somebody else answering your question. Yeah, but the problem is he's trying to buy it through overseas. He can't get access to it. So tell you what, Maris, type here, what is the ticker for it, please? And then I'll come back here and I'll answer your question. And let me see how many people we've got waiting here on Zoom. Okay, we got a bunch. All right, so keep joining Zoom. I'll open it up soon after I answer questions here. All right. Okay. And Maris is asking here, do you have any recommended funds to invest in as European investors? Yeah, I would go to Vanguard's website and try to see if you can invest through Vanguard. You can read all the prospectuses there as well, meaning the investment offering memorandums, and they've got a product for everything globally. So just go to Vanguard's website, yeah, which is the best ETF company in the world. Yeah. All right. Give me 1 second here. All right. Hold on a second, guys. It jumps on me sometimes. Mother, father. Okay. All right, next question I've got here is Manas, who wrote, if you want to, and by the way, you can't post links here. If you post links, I don't see them. All right, next up, Manas wrote, if you want to start something, you always need a team. Let's assume you started Banana Watches company competing with Apple. Who and how many people would you hire and when? Yeah. So you only hire people early on. Don't hire salespeople. Don't hire a CFO. Just hire people that make the product, basically R&D. Yeah. And then once you have the product developed where you can actually sell it, then you hire the salespeople. Okay. And then once you have a bunch of sales, then you hire a CFO, which is usually a couple of years before the IPO. Yeah. But what you want to do, Manas, is you want to look at your skill set and understand where you have gaps in your own skill set and where you need to hire people. For example, Steve Jobs, God bless him, he wasn't a techie, right? He was more of a marketing and sales guy. He didn't really program or understand hardware. And so he was lacking something. And that gap was he found Steve Wozniak, right? And so that I need you to find your Woz from a yin-yang perspective. Yeah. Or your Jobs if you're technical. Okay. And always write a business plan first, because failing to plan is planning to fail. Please complete the entire business plan before starting a company and focus mainly on the financials, because without data, it's just a thesis and nothing more. Yeah. All right, next up. Oh, Kendall, how are you? Kendall wrote the MBA program is a great deal. You'll learn so much. I'm in platinum. Thank you so much. And Kendall's in my class from June. She started June 1st. She's from Texas, from Dallas, and she's wonderful. She's awesome. Thank you. Thank you. Good to see you. Yeah. And I did my hair this way again because yesterday on our call you said it worked. And little hack. And I'm so transparent with everything. And I was telling Kendall this as well. Kendall runs circles around me with this stuff. She knows everything. But what I do is I have this product here. It's called Peter Thomas Roth. It's $28 for a pack of 3. And what I did was I put a little bit in the back of my hands, and I got a brush, and I brush it under my eyes, and it gets rid of the wrinkles, right? And it's not bad for you or anything. So I just kind of experimented with this. I'm getting older. The older I get, the better I was. But Kendall said I looked younger yesterday, so thank you. It means a lot coming from you. Okay, Manos wrote, Russia is not stopping, and Taiwan is also on the verge of war as China will be having elections soon in November. What can be the repercussions if something goes wrong? Yeah, I know things are tense now. And I know there's a lot of saber rattling going with a lot of ships surrounding Taiwan, just military drills. They've done that before, though. And China's very rational, unlike other frenemies America's had in the past. I don't think things will ever escalate to global thermonuclear war, God forbid. But Pelosi had to do what she did. Because visiting Taiwan, because Biden kind of hinted she was going to, and it would show weakness otherwise. Plus, with Russia invading Ukraine, it doesn't make it right that other countries can do the same. And so America has to have a tough stance on this as well, right? It's unacceptable what Russia did. And if the world lets Russia do this, without any repercussions, then, the world will let China do that with Taiwan as well, which is wrong, in my humble opinion. Yeah. So I don't think things are going to escalate. Maybe a little bit of a trade war, saber rattling. But China knows, and China would be more hurt than America would if they went to war. And the reason is as follows. China is more dependent on the United States than vice versa. Right? So China owns a large percent of the U.S. debt. And China's biggest export market is the United States. Now, the Chinese government, they say that Chinese capitalists are the best communists, or Chinese communists are the best capitalists because they're very long-term focused. The Chinese government, what they're doing is they're trying to create their own domestic economy so that they're not as reliant on the United States for exports longer term. But that's going to take decades, right? And so if there's a trade war between the United States and China, China knows that their economy will be hit hard, and the Chinese economy is in trouble right now. Right, and they just cut interest rates. They've got their own real estate crisis there. They cut interest rates. Unbelievable. Yeah. In China, what happened was back in 1989, we were lucky. The world was lucky that CNN had a television crew in Beijing in 1989 when they had the Tiananmen Square uprising. And now the thing is, like, everybody is a journalist, right? We've got over 1 billion people in China with these things. And so if there's any sort of civil unrest, if the economy slows too much, I think there could be revolution. There's a lot of protesting going on that the government is trying to cover up in Japan or in China. Like, for example, with Hong Kong, what happened in Hong Kong, and I'm so honest with all of you. I always tell exactly what I'm thinking. I'm not a conspiracy guy, however. With COVID, in late 2019, I think the Chinese government could have, done quarantines much, earlier and fixed the whole issue with COVID. But I think what happened was this. In late 2019, there were protests, okay, in Hong Kong. People were protesting. They're peaceful protests. Freedom fighters, I love them. People were protesting for human rights and all that stuff in Hong Kong. And what happened was it got really out of hand, meaning a lot of people were protesting, and the Chinese government was worried that they wouldn't be able to contain it. And so the Chinese government basically told everyone in Hong Kong, hey, we got this COVID thing. Everybody go home. Everyone go home. Quarantine. Which was the right thing to do. But it had the unintended consequence of stopping those riots. And then after that, the Chinese government forced, one of the most free and open newspapers to shut down. That's been it's been in business for decades in Hong Kong as well. And so I think that China is very much dependent on the United States for trade, and they can't afford to have any sort of civil unrest. So I don't think things are going to escalate. Yeah, I pray they won't. Yeah. All right. Okay, next up, Eric wrote, I'd love to be a consultant and give advice about survivalism, health, growing food, and prepping. With all the uncertainty in the world, a lot of people are becoming first-time preppers. Yeah. Let me know what you mean by preppers, because I want to help you. I know you're in the silver program. I'd love to help you with your business plan as well during our weekly call. But if you're thinking about starting a company in the food business, etc., please write a full business plan first, especially the financial services part of it, the income statement, because the margins are razor thin with food. Yeah. Okay, moving on to Adil wrote, what are your thoughts on investing in real estate syndicates, the pros and cons? Yeah. Read the entire investment offering memorandum first. Okay, make sure you understand how much money you can take out of it and when. Now, if you invest in REITs, which are real estate investment trusts, by law in most countries, REITs, you get 90% of the operating profits as dividends every year. Okay, so make sure you understand what the cash flow repercussions are going to be, or benefits, before investing. And before investing in something that's illiquid, that you can't get out of quickly, please show your accountant first. Last thing I'll say on this is show your accountant and ask your accountant, can I put this in my tax shelter as well? Because if you don't put something in a tax shelter right away, sometimes it's impossible to transfer into a tax shelter later on. Yeah. Okay. All right. And there's tons more questions here. I'm going to go for a minute over to Zoom. And then I'll come back here as well, because I know a lot of people have been patiently waiting. Okay, keep typing your questions here. I'll go to Zoom and I'll come back here as well. Okay, let me go over here. And for those of you on Zoom, I'll let you guys all in right now. Lift your hand up if you have a question, and I'll go to you directly. Oh, we got the Tour Eiffel there, Eiffel Tower. That's where I proposed to my wife. Okay. All right, and we'll keep the question short. One question at a time, so I can make sure I get everybody in, and then we'll go from there. So lift up your hand if anybody has a question. Okay. All right, I'll come back to you guys then. Rita has a question. Okay, Rita, unmute yourself, please. Oh, you're still on mute, sorry. Okay. All right.
Yeah, I would ask. Can I get some assistance about the CFA? You talked about it the other day.
Yeah.
That it's better than the MBA.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. So the CFA stands for the Certified Financial Analyst designation.
Yes.
It's a 3-year designation where you write an exam once a year for 3 years. The CFA, it's basically level. There's 3 parts to it. The first year is a repeat of finance you learn in most MBA programs. Okay, and what they do is the CFA has a ton of textbooks you have to buy, or you can buy to study. Don't do that. I want you to go and do a search for Schweizer CFA books and pay $30 or $40 by them used, and that's how I did level 1. Right, it's just a faster way to study for it, but it's more respected, I think, than MBA designations in the finance industry. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Did that answer your question?
Yes, it did. But can I get some assistance with it? How do I go about it?
Oh,
if I want to, because I've done the MBA in financial analysis, and I have my expertise for 32 years in the finance industry. I want to get to the next level. So would I be able to move on to the CFA?
Oh, absolutely.
After I finish my platinum program.
Oh, yeah. So you're in the platinum program right now. You started in June. Yeah. So everything I'm teaching you, including the electives, the 30, 40, 50 hour electives of finance stuff, will help you a lot for level 1 and 2. Okay. Now, level 3, you have to do more research, though, because level 3, there's a lot of stuff about ethics and stuff I don't teach. Not that I'm unethical, but there are certain things that they teach that you have to write. You have to answer questions for. Let me show you the next steps really quickly. Okay. So what you do is, and I'm going to share here a screen. Okay. So just do, I don't know, sign up for the CFA. Okay. So just do a search on that. Okay. Go to CFA Institute. .org, okay? And after you go to cfainstitute.org, they're going to try to sell you a bunch of books. Don't buy them. What I want you to do is there's a company called Schweizer, which is owned by Kaplan, which is owned by the Washington Post, which is owned by Jeff Bezos. And I can never spell it, but give me 1 second because I think this is helpful. Schweizer CFA. Here it is here. Okay, good. Yeah. Here it is right here. Okay, good. So what I want you to do is instead of buying the books directly from Kaplan, it's a lot cheaper to go to eBay and buy them used. Okay. So you go here, you do a search for Schweizer CFA, and you can buy the books here, save you a ton of money. Yeah. Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Of course, you can get all of them for less than $30 if you keep looking, all the books. Like right here. Here it is. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Level 3, look at that. It's amazing. You'll save a fortune that way. Yeah. Cool. Yeah, you're most welcome. All right, next up we got Kevin. Kevin, how are you?
I'm doing great. How about you?
I'm always great. Thank you.
So I have a question.
Sure.
The CFA is actually related to the CFA. I recently
Sure.
had a little. I found out that one of my close friends, since I played soccer in elementary, his older brother works in Wall Street, sales and trading. So I made that connection, and we had a really good call. And he told me, he came from a non-target school. He told me one thing I could think of doing, especially to stand out, because obviously they get a lot of applicants from Harvard and these big schools.
Yeah.
One thing to stand out, he said, possibly doing your CFA Level 1 while you're in school. And that'd be very impressive because not many undergraduate students even have that on their resume.
Yeah.
And I don't know what you think about that. Is it worth the money? Is it worth the investment in yourself?
Yeah, I think that advertising that you have a CFA helps. But I think just level 1, I don't know if it's really enough. What I would do with your spare time instead, in addition to taking some finance and accounting classes in university, is I would network a lot. Now, the reality is this. Every time you see an opening for a job online and you apply, you have literally a 1 out of 250 shot of getting that job. And the person that gets the job, in almost all cases, knows people at the company. So those are the rules. So what I would do is I would start networking aggressively with people that went to your university that work at the target companies you want to work at. And I would set up one-on-one meetings with them as well. Okay. And during the one-on-one meetings, and in my MBA program, I explain a lot of detail. And if you're platinum, I can help you with one-on-ones with your LinkedIn profile as well. But during your one-on-ones, you want to add as much value as possible. And understand that people are motivated in business by 3 things. Number 1, they want to make more money. Number 2, they want to get promoted faster. And number 3, they want to enjoy what they do. So when you meet with them, the first 10 minutes, bond with them. Okay, bond before business. And what you can do is you can go to their Twitter profile to see who they follow. If they follow certain athletes, certain sports, you know what to talk about. Never jump into business. In terms of helping them make money or with their careers in general, what you can do is if you want to work, say, at a hedge fund, I recommend bringing a couple of investment ideas, longs and shorts. And I provide you with all the templates to do that, one-pagers, in my MBA program as well. And I would prepare 5 or 10 of them at least. And if it feels right, pull out one of those write-ups, okay, and have your resume on the other side of it as well, okay. And then pitch the ideas to them. And then follow up with them, every 2 or 3 weeks with another idea attached as a PDF, and add value that way. And I guarantee you, your competition won't do this, and this works. It does. It's worked for tons of my students, I promise you. Yeah.
Well, I think I never thought about that.
Yeah.
I think it's very cool. And would you recommend that not only for hedge fund, but let's say you're applying to equity research, maybe putting your own research report underneath your resume?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And in my MBA, you're in my MBA program, I think, right? Are you?
No.
Oh, you're not? Okay, I'm so sorry. No, I'm not trying to, yeah. Let me show you. Okay, I'll show you this document I created. So in my MBA program, I have just a ton of templates for basically everything you can imagine. Okay, I try to help you work smarter, not harder. I give you all the tools. So I'm going to go
I do have your financial end of this course.
Oh, okay, no, this one's different. Okay, so EMS 4 dash. Okay, so I'm going to go to one of the downloads here in my MBA program. Okay, and I'm going to download a document that's going to help you do research on any company. Okay, so let me just download it first. And what comes out of this is a one-pager, which you've seen probably in the financial analyst course. But I'm going to show you the 150-pager that comes out of this. This is much more incremental. Give me a second. It's opening up. Now, people that are on the webcast can see what I'm sharing, but I need to share screens with you here in real time. Okay. All right. Do you see Microsoft Excel here? Okay.
Yeah.
Good. All right, great. So basically, this is a product that doesn't exist on Wall Street. It's something I created based on my experience working at Goldman and the hedge fund industry, et cetera. And what we have here is a 100-step process here to analyzing any company. Okay, so all you do is you enter in all the details on the company you're doing research on. This is dummy data. Okay, and then there's 3 buckets. There's qualitative research, quantitative research, and financial research, right? Like, the financial model, et cetera. So you go through this and you answer every question I give you, okay, on everything, qualitative, quantitative, et cetera, including all the financials. And all this stuff, and every single tab that you're on, I have a video you can click on, which will provide you more details on how to navigate that tab. You can't see it though because you're using Zoom here. Okay. All right. So, and then what happens is after you enter in all this information, I create massive dashboards for you. And this whole file is 30 megs. It's pretty small. There's no macros either. So I create all these images for you, yada, 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 all this stuff. Okay. And all this stuff feeds directly, okay, into 2 items. One is a detailed report right here, which is 150 pages long. This is your research report, okay? And I guarantee you, nobody will do this, including people that work in the industry. You'll run circles around the competition, which is why I do what I do to humbly help you. And then here's the executive summary, okay? And so right here, and you've probably seen something like this in the financial analyst course, right? But not the 150 pager. All this stuff actually gets fed in based on your answers on other tabs, okay? So there's about 1,000 questions close to that I ask you, okay? And then what you can do is you can just hit the print button here, and then you can print it as a PDF. So you go here, save as PDF, okay? And then when you save it as a PDF, then you could send that directly to the person that you interviewed with or are interviewing with, that sort of thing. And this will work for equity research, hedge funds, anything where you need to invest money. Yeah. And so, but when you meet them in person, you can put this right up on the backside of your resume as well. So I hope that's helpful.
No, yeah, it's great. Cool. And then you would access through the MBA?
Yes.
Or?
Yeah. Yeah, and so the MBA, you can see the details at the bottom of the screen. Let me go back over here. Just rewind in this video. At the bottom, you'll see the link. Just go to harounmba.com/FAQ, all lowercase FAQ, and you can sign up. And whether you do the silver, gold, or platinum program, you get access to the entire program right away. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. And if you need help navigating that, just ask me. During the webcast we do within the MBA programs. Yeah. So with the Silver MBA, we do a webcast which has Zoom like this every single Thursday from 10 to 11 my time, Pacific time. With Gold and Platinum, we do a 2-hour webcast every week from 11:20 until 1:20. And then if you're in Platinum, you get one-on-ones with me, 3 hours of one-on-ones every Monday, Tuesday, Thursdays. Yeah.
So Silver does not get any one-on-one with you?
No. But you can still ask me questions, right? So if you sign up now, you could ask me at 10 a.m. today. We do a Zoom, and there's less than 10 people on the call usually. It's pretty small. Yeah. And you go to the first lecture in Silver, and then what you do is it'll give you a link for it as well. Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much.
Of course. Yeah. Cool. All right. Go ahead, Alex, please.
Sounds good.
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing well, thank you.
Excellent.
I had a question. So I've worked for a couple of publicly traded companies, and I feel like there's a recurring theme that they always kind of want to see from an outside perspective, like what new ideas,
Yeah.
You can bring to the table and kind of what you can implement.
Yeah.
But I felt like I wanted to contribute to some of those ideas, but it's hard to kind of know where to start.
Okay.
And I guess my question to you is if you're trying to come up with a new idea or kind of implement an outside perspective, like what's the criteria that you use in your career to help that colleague or client or whoever that be?
Is this before you get the job or after you get the job?
After you've signed on, yeah.
Okay. Every corporate culture is a little bit different. I do provide you with all the frameworks you need to do any sort of strategic analysis of any company or new business model, etc. You can look at writing a business plan as well in my MBA program in the third semester for any department or any new product you want to create in any division at a big company. What I do recommend, though, which will help you more than any of the stuff I can teach you, is I recommend networking aggressively in your company and finding mentors. Okay. Find mentors that have been there for years. They can be in different departments as well. Just ask them out for a coffee and just ask them for their advice. I'm trying to add more value to my department. Is there any sort of framework or way I should approach this in terms of a presentation, that sort of thing? Never go over your boss's head, though, with this sort of thing. It's career suicide. You go directly to him or her. Yeah. And what I also recommend doing is this, and a lot of people don't do this, but I want you to go directly to your boss's assistant, okay? And I want you to ask for mentorship from him or her. Because the reality is that assistants usually work with the boss, and they go from one company to the next with them over time. And they know how things get done. They know when the right time to ask is, that sort of thing. And they'll be tickled pink that you ask them for mentorship as well. Yeah. And a little side note, anybody out there that is joining a new company, in the first 2 weeks in a new company, please do as many informational meetings as you can. And because you're the new kid in town and people will take, they'll definitely be more thoughtful to help you out. And I told my son that too. My son started Berkeley. He's doing engineering there. He started on Tuesday this past week. And I told him that too. I said, Andrew, I miss you. I love you. I want you to make sure that in the first 2 weeks, you meet as many people as you can, because those are your friends for the rest of your life as well. It's true. The friends you met the first week of high school, first week of undergrad, whatever it is, you're with forever. Do that as well within your company. Yeah. And I hope that's helpful as well. I have plenty of frameworks I can help you with in my MBA program. And Alex, if you're in my platinum program, I can help you one-on-one as well. In putting together any sort of proposal, business plan, whatever you need. I'm there for you. Yeah.
Cool.
Awesome. Thank you. Awesome. All right. Great. All right. Kevin's got his hand up. Go ahead, please.
Yeah, I have a question.
Sure.
I currently have a club I'm running at my school, and the main goal is like bringing financial literacy and bringing like insights from industry experts to the club members.
Yeah.
So I just became the president because the former president is not in the school anymore.
Sure.
He transferred. So my question would be how, I'm kind of scared of like, what if no one shows up to the club meeting? And like also, how do I, I want to do all these things for the members. I want to have all these set up dates with industry members from whether it be Wall Street Consulting, marketing to come visit. Mm-hmm. How do I network and how do I like make sure? Because like my fear would be, what if they come and there's no one there?
Yeah.
And I just wasted the extra time. So how would you like go about that? Obviously, it's not a company, so the marketing is a little bit different. For like a school.
Yeah. But first of all, this is great. You're doing. You're president of an organization. I'll help you on your LinkedIn profile, your resume, etc. Secondly, the way to network to get people to come to these events is to guest speak. Is you go to LinkedIn. Make sure your LinkedIn profile is perfected. I can help you with it too if you want. But make sure your LinkedIn profile is perfected, and you reach out to people that are graduates of your university. Okay, and they want to help you. I promise. All you got to do is ask. And you mentioned that, we've got this finance club. I'd love to have you as, a guest lecturer if you're in town, or we can do a Zoom webcast. Please let me know. Yeah. And this is a great way for you to network as well for your Rolodex as well, because they want to help you, right? And get to know them. Eventually, you can ask them how to market yourself to get jobs, etc. In terms of getting other people to join, I would ask people one-on-one if you can. It's hard for them to say no, like in person, like during class, if you can. I would do that instead of just sending out a blast email. right?
Yeah.
And also depending on who's presenting, if it's somebody that works, say, at a Goldman Sachs, investment banking, a graduate of our school, you're not going to have trouble getting people attending that at all. Yeah.
Yeah. One of the things that we were doing, because one of my board members, he's really good at marketing, we're trying to do some Instagram posts, and we can target the location at our school. So if you're at the school, if you go on Instagram, you would see our ads for the club.
Okay.
That was what we're planning to do.
Cool. Well, I mean, the posters you put up at school, and I was president of lots of different clubs at school. I used to put up posters everywhere, and this is in the pre-Instagram days, because I'm 8 million years old. But in the bottom corner, you can say follow us on Insta or whatever. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, my pleasure, man. My pleasure. And yeah, awesome, cool. All right. So what I'm going to do now is I'm actually going to go back to the webcast, answer questions. If other people have questions on Zoom, join, put your hand up. And then I'll get you in a minute. So I'll go back to the webcast now. Give me 1 second here. Here we go. I gotta fix one little thing here. Hold on a second. Okay. Okay. Great. All right. Next question I have got here is. Manas wrote, is Udemy, and Manas teaches on Udemy as well. Udemy is one of the platforms I teach on. Manas wrote, is Udemy moving towards subscriptions-based site because they're promoting more subscriptions than ever? Your thoughts on this one? Thanks. Yeah, I'm not really sure. I know they have a very big business growing quickly called Udemy Business, UB, where big companies sign up subscriptions like Netflix, but for course business and tech courses. Yeah. But where the market's moving longer term in general, and it's something I'm thinking about as well. I have a subscription program as well. It's doing really well. It's $99 a month. You get all my stuff, whatever. Go to my website if you care. But it's a great way to run a business because it gives you really good revenue visibility. And the churn, meaning turnover, meaning people canceling, is a lot lower than if you did like an annual fee. Yeah. And you got to use charm pricing, meaning 99 or 77, whatever. It's just psychological, works better. All right, next up, I've got Peter from Romania, who's 19. It's been about a month or so. It's great to see you again. He's a big soccer fan. He wrote, hey, Chris, how are you? I'm always great, thank you. It's great to see you again. And then you wrote here, do you have any advice on how to choose a good college as an 18-year-old? Thanks a lot. Also, I love that you're not sitting in your live streams and in your courses. Seems a lot more professional to me. And have a great day. Thank you. The reason why I don't sit on this webcast, and I got rid of a chair, except when I had COVID, but I got rid of a chair, is because a couple of years ago, two people actually mentioned, Chris, you sound really tired. One data point doesn't make a trend, but a couple does. And I had complaints, and people said some other mean stuff, which I won't tell you guys about. And so I decided, you know what? Screw it. Let's do it. As Sir Richard Branson says, I got rid of my chair and I stand all day long. I get my 20,000 steps in a day. I'm always walking when I'm not doing these webcasts as well. Thank you. Okay. I don't wear a suit and tie every day. Yeah. All right. So any advice on how to choose a good college? Yeah. I want you to think about, like in my MBA program, which I'd love to have you sign up for. I think it's helpful. I have you create what's called a simple perfect resume in one of the mini exercises. And what that is basically, it's your resume in 10 years. But I want it to be your perfect resume, okay, like your ideal life. And I got the idea from Jeff Bezos because he had his product managers at Amazon every year, the ones that worked on, Kindle, AWS, Whole Foods or Whole Paycheck, whatever you call that, subsidiary, etc. He'd have all product managers write a press release today that's going to come out in many years from now. And it's smart because then he's got a gap analysis. Here's where the product is today. Here's where it's going to be. How do we fill that gap? And so what I want you to do is I want you to do the same thing. I want you to fill the gap by creating your resume in 10 years today. And I walk you through all the steps with templates in my MBA program. Then I want you to figure out how to close that gap. And if you find that your ideal life in 10 years involves you going to a certain type of college, and you put that on your resume, in the future, then that might be the right choice for you, depending on the industry you want to work in. Yeah. And if you're in my MBA program, ask me during class. I'll help you with your LinkedIn profile as well. And I'll help you think about how to crystallize the thought process of which school you should go to, if any. Yeah. All right. Next up, Eric wrote, speaking of building versus buying, meaning M&A, I keep hearing it's much better to buy an established e-commerce site instead of trying to build it from scratch. You can buy some for as low as a few $100s. Yeah, if you're thinking about getting a shorter URL or internet address, that might make sense. Yeah. So for me, I have a bunch. I have Haroun Education, which is too long. Haroun Education Ventures, which is also too long. I've got an entire MBA, onecourse.com, which is too long. Now what I'm doing is I'm simplifying it by telling everyone to go to harounmba.com. Yeah, they're usually not that cheap. Anything that's 5 letters or less is usually pretty expensive. Yeah, but it's not a bad idea. Okay, next up, there are a lot of things to happen with blockchain. Do you see Udemy transforming into a Web 3.0 company longer term? And if that happens, will it go through an ICO? Thanks a lot. Yeah. It's interesting you say that because recently I did an interview with Udemy, actually. Patrick, my guy there, he's the best, with a Business Insider journalist. And what we talked about in that interview was the metaverse and the future of education. And so it's where I'm going longer term as well with my MBA program and my courses. This is going to be big, but not for a long time. Right? So Facebook has only sold like 15 million or so Oculus headsets. That's nothing compared to the penetration of a couple of billion of these things globally. And so I think what's going to happen initially with the metaverse is when you use the metaverse, I'm going to show you an example because I did a metaverse class. And give me 1 second. I got somebody spamming with rude stuff. Let me report them and remove them. Done. Okay, good. Hold on a second, guys. Sorry about that. Remove. Now I'm just going to look. Oh, I'm going to put you in a timeout. It says put user in timeout. Okay, good. So it deleted all that stuff. Okay, sorry. Very distracting and unprofessional. All right, so I think what's going to happen with the metaverse initially is people are going to use the arrow keys on their keyboard. And I'll show you what that means because I actually did one of these weekly webcasts as a metaverse play. mbametaverse.com. There we go. So I did this one class here. And you can click on this video as well. Okay, it only works. I have to update Safari or use Chrome. So if you have Chrome, you can click on this to take a look at what that webcast looked like. Yeah. Anyway, I'll let you guys go there if you want to. But basically what I did was it was a weekly webcast, and you could either wear Oculus or any headsets you want to using an app and a Spatial IO's app, or you could walk around the screen using your using the arrow keys. Yeah, but anyway, go to my website, go to mbametaverse.com, click on this, and you'll see what that webcast looked like. Yeah. It'll just give you an idea what it might look like longer term. In terms of Udemy doing an ICO, I don't know anything proprietary about the company or what they're thinking about strategy-wise longer term. Yeah, but they did an IPO, so I don't know why they would need to do an ICO. You know, they already raised a lot of money from an IPO. Yeah. Okay. Okay, and then you wrote, the Taiwan Strait is very important for export and import perspective. If China controls that or does something, how will the world be affected by that? And what are your thoughts? Yeah, I think that China has more to lose than anybody because trade wars would start between the United States and China is dependent on America as one of their biggest export partners. Yeah. I think it's a bluff. I hope it is. All right, next up, Kevin wrote, do you manage your own stock portfolios or do you have a wealth manager? Do you own single stocks or do you use ETFs? Yeah, so I had a wealth manager for a while. I tried it out. It didn't really work out. And what these wealth managers do is they charge you 1% per year of your liquid net worth, and they help you invest. But more importantly, for me, they have tax lawyers as well that help you move your money around to pay as little tax as legally possible. The problem with that is this, though. When you sign up for these wealth advisors, they work really hard, right? It's usually some older dude with a lot of experience. And then what happens is once they get you, they hand it off to, their idiot son or somebody else that's more junior. Yeah. You know how it works. The first generation makes the money, the second spends it, third has none. So that second generation guy was advising us, and we ended that pretty damn fast. I do have a lot of stocks and ETFs. I'm a long-term investor, as you know. Yeah. Okay. Manos wrote, if you were 18 years old and blockchain and web was so early, what would you do as a young guy with so much potential? Yeah. So when I was in my early 20s, I guess I was at Accenture years ago. I had this entrepreneurial bug in me about starting an internet company. And so what I did was I started a charity on the side called CICC.com. And you can go to Internet Archive and look at that old website, CICC.com. It's Canadian Internet Charity Consulting. And I started a lot of companies too. Yeah, I went after it. Yeah. I'd be all over. But make sure that, Manos, you write a full business plan first. Yeah. Okay. All right. And then you wrote, thank you very much for everything. God bless you and your family forever. Thank you for that. I appreciate that. God bless you. All right. Next up, Kevin wrote, do you have any tips on developing discipline? Yeah. Well, I would say, first of all, make sure you take off at least one day a week, every week, so you don't burn out. It's the basis for the 10 rules we all live by in many great religions. Take one day off a week. Secondly, from a discipline perspective, what you want to do is you also want to write out your daily schedule every single day, okay? Every weekday at least. Do it before you go to bed. And this will help you accomplish a lot more. And this is like a higher end version of my scheduling product, which is available to my MBA students. Yeah. Because you're setting goals, short-term goals as well, and you're documenting them too with deadline dates. That helps a lot. Yeah. Okay. Moving on to Bhaskar, who wrote, hey, Chris, my question is, what is the future for the personal development and productivity industry? If I decide to choose personal development and that as my niche as a coach now, will it be right? Yeah. Well, you have to ask yourself this, as with all investments in all industries. In 5 years, will this industry be more relevant or less relevant than it is today? I think it'll be a lot more relevant. In terms of your go-to-market strategy in 5 years, it's definitely be more so virtual, using social media products like YouTube, for example, or whatever social media product is going to be invented in the future. Now, my kids, their jobs might not have been invented yet, and the way they communicate with each other certainly has not been invented yet. And so the key is, for the next social media platform that exists, get on early. Okay, get onto it early. Follow Gary Vaynerchuk, because he usually knows what social media platforms are going to take off and why. Yeah. All right. Next up, I have got here. Hey, Pride, how are you? Wrote, hey, Chris, I hope you're well. Likewise. What do you think of ESG? Is it hype or an integral part of finance? ESG. Oh, yeah. For ethical mandates. I've heard a lot of people talk about this as well. Ethical sustainability. And let me see what the actual acronym means. I forgot what it means. Let's go to ESG finance. And I'll talk about this in a second. Yeah. Okay. ESG stands for environmental, social, and governance. Yeah. I mean, there's a big trend in that market right now. There's 28. I think ESG based funds have $28 billion of assets under management as of now. And basically, what ethical investing means is you invest in companies that don't do bad things to the environment. You would invest in Exxon in those funds. You also invest in companies that have a diverse workforce and good corporate governance, etc. Yeah. So it's definitely a trend that makes a lot more sense, but I think it's the younger generation. As they get older and they become investors and more disposable income, they're just naturally going to be investing in companies that are ESG compliant instead of following specific guidelines. For example, my son, Matthew, he's older now, he's 17. But when he was this age, I remember we were in the car, I was driving and I was eating an apple and I finished it and I threw the apple core out the window. And he said to me, he said, Dada, don't be mean to the earth. So it's the younger generation that's going to force us to be more environmentally friendly, ethical, etc. Yeah. Okay. And then you wrote, please explain exactly how the Gold MBA is run, its difference with on-demand as well. And then you wrote, when you have a live session, what does it cover, the 300-hour sessions, or is it Q&A? Yeah, let me explain everything, yeah. So basically, what I do, and I'll show you right here, actually. Yeah, this is a good way to. Okay. So for example, for the Wednesday session, and let me actually, yeah, the Wednesday session, last class, what I did, and I'll make this a bit bigger, is we covered 4 lectures. Okay. So what I do is I actually play a lecture, and then after I play the lecture, then I take questions. So I'll play just the first 5 seconds of this lecture here. Topic 2, my 8-step research process. So after that lecture, then what I do is I take questions for as long as there's questions, okay, YouTube based. And so we'll go through usually between 3 and 6 lectures over 6 hours every Wednesday. So the Wednesday class started June 1st. It's 9 a.m. until 3 p.m. Every single Wednesday for a year. The September 30th class, that's a Friday. It's every Friday from 9 a.m. until 3 p.m. Pacific time for a year. And what I do is commensurate, similar to what I just showed you. I play a lecture, then I take questions. Play a lecture, then I take questions. And then I do Zoom until there's no more questions at the end as well. Yeah. Now, in terms of the difference between gold, silver, gold, and platinum, best thing for me to do is to go to my my website here. So let's go to harounmba.com. And if you scroll down here, there is this chart here. Okay. So basically, silver, the way that, and there's a pop-up here if you want to schedule a one-on-one Zoom call with me. Okay, so the way that silver works is it's like Netflix. You can start today, watch all lectures today, but I don't answer questions after each lecture, right? You just watch it online. Gold is the same, and there's a 30-day, 100% money-back guarantee. Okay, and any new content I add to the MBA, you get for free in every single tier here. Okay, whether you signed up years ago or today. Gold, you get everything in silver, plus you get what I just showed you. I play the lectures live. Alexa, stop. I got to wrap up the call in a minute. Sorry. With gold, you get everything I mentioned in silver, but you get to watch the lectures with me live, like I play them to you, and I answer questions after each one. Also with gold, there is that's 200 hours of Q&A, by the way, during class over the course of a year. Yeah. So if you start on September 30th, that's a Friday. I play the classes, I take questions, play a class, take questions, and the questions portion of me answering it equals 200 hours over the course of a year. Okay. Platinum is the same thing, and I'm covering up my face here a bit. Platinum is got everything gold has, plus you get 3 hours of one-on-one confidential coaching meetings with me where I can create your entire LinkedIn profile for you if you want to help you with any business or other problems you have, investing issues, etc. And to learn more about this, you can just go to harounmba.com or harounmba.com/FAQ. Yeah, and if you have additional questions, please let me know. Now, I do have to wrap up the call in a minute here. So for those of you that are in my silver MBA program, stay on Zoom because I'll join you for the questions you have. And if you're also in the silver program, look at the first lecture in the curriculum to be able to open up the webcast that starts in a couple of minutes. I know there's a lot more questions here. I'm so sorry I don't have time to get to them today. If you're in silver, ask me during the webcast that starts in a couple of minutes. If you're in gold or platinum, ask me today between 11:20 and 1:20 during our weekly office hours for gold and platinum students. Or you can ask me if you're in platinum during our one-on-one meetings. Thank you, everybody, for your time. Please click the like button. It helps me out a lot. And I will see you all next week. Thank you. And as always, I end my weekly call with this wonderful video that I licensed of a Steve Jobs video from the Silicon Valley Historical Association. Thank you. God bless you. Have a great week.
When you grow up, you tend to get told that the world is the way it is, and you're your life is just to live your life inside the world, try not to bash into the walls too much, try to have a nice family life, have fun, save a little money. But life, that's a very limited life. Life can be much broader once you discover one simple fact, and that is everything around you that you call life was made up by people that were no smarter than you. And you can change it. You can influence it. You can build your own things that other people can use. And the minute that you understand that you can poke life and actually something will, if you push in, something will pop out the other side, that you can change it, you can mold it. That's maybe the most important thing, is to shake off this erroneous notion that life is there and you're just going to live in it, versus embrace it, change it, improve it, make your mark upon it. I think that's very important. And however you learn that, once you learn it, you'll want to change life and make it better, because it's kind of messed up in a lot of ways. Once you learn that, you'll never be the same again.